Good evening. Okay, today we are going to see a very new topic, a fresh one, and it's very important. Try to understand the concept, why this concept is introduced. Every time, whatever we are going to study, always ask why this concept is there. So that will be a better understanding. So now today we are going to learn about Java threading. So it is also called a multi-threading. You can say that or thread. There are two options. Either you can say that the Java thread or multi-thread or multi-threading. So this is a topic we are going to see and why it is introduced, what is the use of this, how many ways are to achieve multi-threads, and what is the syntax, how to write the code and how to run the programs. Everything we are going to see about today. First of all, we'll understand the concept that why it is introduced. So let's start with a simple threads concept. Here is a word comes a thread. So thread here is means in terms of programming, the thread means smallest individual program. Smallest program you can say that. Smallest program which work individually. Okay, remember the smallest programs which work individual, whatever. Okay, means it not depending on any others. It's working it properly in better way. So, how exactly this concept means, why we need it, that we are going to see today. So, thread means the smallest program which work individually. Means it not depending on any others. If it is started, then it will start. And multi-threading means many programs which work individually. Try to understand the concepts, what we are going to see about. We are saying the topic called thread or multi-threads. And the thread meaning here, the thread means smallest programs which work individually, not depending on any other, it not disturbing on any concepts. It work individually. So the best example, if you see about PC, if you go into task manager, you can find in task manager there are many processes working on. So these all are the thread. You can consider that. OBS Studio is running, there is Paint is running, Google Chrome is going on, JVM is backgroundly running, and there are many AMD processor are working in the background. And these all are working individually without affecting any others. And they are not even depending on any others. So this is called a thread. Okay. And it's very advanced concept. I need to understand very carefully. So this is a kind of thread which working individually. Then why it is introduced? Okay, though there are many programming concepts are there and everything will be properly running and still we need a thread. So why we need a thread? So that we are going to study today. Okay. You're getting what exactly thread? The thread means smallest individual programs which work individually. It does not depending on any other. The best example is a task manager. Many processes are working individually. They are not affecting each other. Though there are some processor are consuming the more RAM, some are very less RAM, but still they are working. They're not depending on each other. Okay. Then programmatically, what importance and how it is useful. Okay. So I will explain the concept first, and then we'll try to create that problem by programmatically, and then we are going to solve it by program. The first thing, assume that it is very clear that in Java, you may also know very well. In Java, all the codes are work line by lines, right? Code execute line by line, right? You know very well about it. Code execute line by lines. So this is sentence is very important to understand this line by lines. So that means it is a very clear whenever we write some functions. Okay. So that function, suppose assume that there are three functions we are created. The function one is f1. Consider this. Okay. And let's me create one more function called f2. Try to understand the concept. And assume that there are one more function called f3. Is that fine? Right. Okay. So let me write one more things f3. So it is a proper one. Now just assume that the f3 function for the execution, there is a very large code. Just assumption took 1 hours to execute this code. It may be there like thousands of lines of codes. So that may took 1 hours. The second program taking 30 minutes for the code length. And the third program here is just taking a 10 second to execute these functions. Try to understand the concept, what I'm trying to explain. So basically, there are three functions. The first function taking 1 hour, second function is just 30 minutes, and third is only about 10 seconds. But as for the Java code standard and the JVM standard, the code execute line by line because it is get interprets. If the function f1, f2, f3 are called simultaneously, then to execute f3 function, to execute f3 function, how much time it need to wait? In ah, exactly. It wait about 1 hours 30 minutes. Though it is just a 10 minutes job. Kidding? So this is a problem, no? So though we are writing a code properly, we are creating a logic properly. That means everything is perfect, fine. But some code maybe get lengthy and some functions are maybe at the smallest. And if you called in this kind of executions, just because of it is executing line by lines. So F3 function must be wait for the 1.5, 30 minutes. So it is not actually good standard. At school level, college level, at basic programming understanding, it's okay. But as you go for an advanced level, so this understanding is very important. So now reaching at one some standard of Java code. So this concept we need to implement. So now it is very clear key this is a problems and to solve these problems, the concept is introduced in Java and that concept is nothing but a thread or multi-thread. Then how the thread is solve these problems? Thread solve the problems by there is a class named as a thread. We know the inheritance concept, right? Have you remember about inheritance? Which keyword we are using to access the feature of other class? I'm asking about the keywords. Are we going to extend keywords, right? So we are going to extend this thread class. And thread class have some methods. So that using that thread class, we can create our method as a thread. And the thread have a specialty. It work all the program at the same times. Means it's execute all the functions simultaneously. That means what will happen? After 10 seconds, F3 function will be completed. After 30 minutes, F2 function will be completed. And though taking F1 as a 1 hour, 2 hour doesn't matter. It will take its own times. Understanding what problem we are solving and how we are solving. Conceptually, it is clear. Then we go for the programmatically. Okay. One second. Okay, now let's first create the problem to understand the thread, and then let's solve by the thread. Okay, so there are two way to create a thread. By first one, by extend threads. Okay, first way of having thread is by extending thread class. By extending thread class. This is first way. And the second way is there by implementing runnable interface. By implements. Implements means what? When we use implement keyword, in which concept we are using in implements keyword? Where? Interface. Perfect. Good one. So whenever we are using interface, so that's we are time we are using implements. So there are two ways. Either you can use extend class or by runnable interface. So today we are going to solve this problems by extending thread. And then tomorrow we'll use a runnable interface and all further types. So today's target is to understand why we need a threads and what was the problem if you are not using threads. So that we are going to implement. So we are not we are trying to execute this kind of executions, but we are not going to wait for the 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 10 seconds. We are just create the concept like how exactly it's executing line by line and how it let it waiting for the long times. So let's create that scenario first. So for that, what we are going to see, we'll create that problem first. So I'll create one new package. So right click new package and I will give the name as a thread. Right. So let's create one simple. I'll create first main class here. thrad thread demo trd thrd demo. So consider it is a main class. So you are not going to touch it. We'll create one more simple class and I will give the name as a thread problems. trd So what is the thread problems? Means before thread, what is the problems? Now just consider we'll create one simple functions called as a wide high. Okay, simples. And I will write so here one for loop for integer I is equal to 0 semicolon I less than, assume that is it 10. Okay, I plus plus sy, so suppose high. Now if I call this function, then how many time high will execute? 10 time. Perfect. Okay, fine. So yeah, let me create one more files, and that name is suppose hello. and assume that the hello will execute only about 5 times, right? So we'll try to create the scenario that is 1 hours, 30 minutes. Okay. And one more function. Yeah. So one more function I will create. And suppose that is nothing but let's me create after this. Hi, hello, and AA. And it will execute about suppose 2 times, not just one times. Test. What is the problems? Is there any issue? Void a function we are creating. Okay. Why? Okay, let me write 1 second. Less than, oh, here is a problem. I less than 2. Okay. And I will print as suppose test. Now this is simple scenario where we are creating multiple programs and we are written line by lines. Okay. So to understand this, we know that the first function will print 10 times, second will be 5 times, and this will be for 2 times. But if you try to execute this programs, so we'll go into the main class, we'll create the object and we'll call t dot suppose hi and t dot suppose hello and the last one t dot a. And as per the Java standard code, it will execute line by lines. Okay. But remember, the sometimes the laptop resource is very high. So that may happen that alternately it may be a something having some glitch. But in general, it is execute line by line. Now, if I run this programs, you'll come to know, oh, there is an infinity problem, something high. Okay, it is a one. You need to specify I. Yeah, yeah, every times I. Okay. Let now execute this code. Ah, see now, if you execute, if you observe these programs, just printing a two-time test. How many time I need to wait? I need to wait that hi will be execute first 10 times, then hello will be execute for the 5 times, and then test. Okay. So we are trying to create this exact scenario like 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 10 seconds. So this is a problem, right? Then we need some solution so that everything will be execute simultaneously. Means one hi, one hello, one test, hi, hello, test, then test work will be finished, then hi test will be goes on. That things we need to create it. Okay. Even though I'm using some thread function here, so let's assume that that is thread dot slip. Okay. So this is a method where we can add some time durations. So let's assume I'm giving a time as 1 second. 1000 means 1 second. Okay. And this need to enclose with a try catch block or you can use throw. Okay. Simple things. So let's me add here this throw. We have seen the throw keywords yesterday. Yeah. So we are not handling it. There is an option also, even you can do this try and catch also. That is also possible. Okay. So this is also okay. But throws will be better if you use this. Not a problem. Either you can use this or this. Both are fine. Okay, let's me run this program. So is there any problem? It's giving error here. Okay, so there is also need a declaration of try catch blocks. friends. So now if I run this program, she'll come to know that hi. He is waiting till hi is completed. And after hi, then hello will be get execute. And then after 5 time hello, then test will get executes. Okay. I'm just adding some time so that it will be clear understanding that this. But still the problem is not solved. Nah, we have to wait for this much times. So now let's convert this simple function into a thread. Okay. So let's how to solve this problem now by creating a thread. Understand the now you understand how to create a thread and what is the way, what rule we need to follow. So I'll simply create one threads. You're getting exactly what we are trying to explain here. If we are not using a thread, so this will be a problem. So as per the same things, this test we need to wait for the 15 seconds to execute all the above code and then it will going to execute. So then to solve these problems, threads comes into the pictures. Now we'll see the actual thread example. Then what are the changes we need to do to create a thread? So let's thread example. I'm creating a simple class here. Okay. To have a thread, we need to extend ex. The first way today we are going to see by extending what? Thread class. Thread. 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 Sorry. It's a capital th thread class. Okay. Now the thread class, if you want to create the method in the thread class, we have to create one method. That method name should be run only. Okay. Remember that method should be run. Should be public wide run. And the same scenario I'll write over there also. That is printing hello for 10 times. Okay. Okay. Let's me extend throw this keyword or surround with try catch blocks. Or you can use the exception as fine. Is that fine now? Okay. And then you can write this hi here also. Not a problem. This is a way. And one class can have only one thread. Okay. Now create one more thread. So for that, I need to create one more class here. This thread one. Let me create one more class here. Let's have a class here. So everything will be same. Just create different. So let's me add a thread two here. Just like thread two, and I will write method here. Suppose hello HEWL. The method name should be run only. Remember, if you want to thread, that method name should be run. Then the question comes why runs? Because thread have a class, extending via class, then that class have one method. And that method name should be what? Run only. There is it having one method that is run. So that's why every time you're creating a run method. So if you go in diff, you'll come to know there is a one class. It is implementing runnable. And if you go into the runnable interface, so there is one method, and the method name is what? Runs. So that's why every time we are creating a run methods, then only it is considered as a thread. Otherwise, it will be considered as a normal programs. So now we have two threads. First is printing for the 10 times hi. Second is printing 5 times hello. Let me create one more thread here. So this is extra, I think. Okay, let's see here. Correct this class, this thread here ending. Okay, fine. This is it. So thread one. Let me consider thread one. No, we are saving that program with that name, so we'll have to write this one. Okay. Thread one extending threads, and we are writing one run method. It is execute for the 10 times. Then we have created a second threads. One, two, three, four. Okay, one more closing bracket is needed. Okay. So this second thread, one more thread we are going to create, and that is nothing but test. Just assume that. So we'll create thread three. Okay. Okay. So this is thread three, and I will write here only for the two times. That is test. Okay. Simple scenario. We have a problems. That's we are creating a three threads now. 3x, 3x2, 3x2, thread 3. First is executing for 10 times. This is for 5 times. This is for 2 times. Now let's create the object of this thread classes. I will go here thread classes. Yes. Let's create the thread object. This t1 is equal to new this. Okay. Now one more thread we have to create. Let me call it t2. This is t3. This is also t2, t3, t2, t3. What's the class name we have created here? T1, T2, T3, right? Why is not accepting change to this class 6? T2 is equal to new this. Okay, what is the problem now? We have created three different classes, right? Check the scope of that class where we are writing this. This class one is here, class this. It's perfectly fine. Okay, this create a separate class. This first class, create a second class here. This class 2. This is class 3. Okay, now close this. We have three different classes, thread 1, thread 2, and thread 3. So now we are having a three threads. So if you want to execute the thread, so don't call the run method. So there is a concept called t1 dot start, t2 dot start, t3 dot start. If it is a thread, then don't call it like a normal functions, because every function name is a run only. No? So that's time. That's why it's called run directly for the three different types. And that is also started. It's all the thread, it will get started. Now, if I run this program, just observe the programs, will come to know like how exactly it executing. Observe the code. Hi, hello, test. Hi, hello, test. Test work will be done. Hi, hello, hi, hello. hello work will be done and it will keep on executing. So let's for get better understanding. Let me write here, suppose in error manner. Just check now. Or even we can increase some time also. So that will be better. 2000 millisecond means only 2 seconds. Huh? Now let's me run this program. See the code. Hi, hello, test. Hi, hello, test. Now test work will be a done. Hi, hi, hello, hello, hello. Then keep on executing hi for the 10 different times. Means our problem is solved. For the test, is no need to wait for the 15 seconds, right? So this is a thread concept. Okay, it's very important. You actually understood why we need a thread. The problem that we have defined is it's the first way we have seen today by extending a thread class. There is a second way is also by implementing runnables, and then there are two, three keywords are also there, wait and join and all that things. That all things thing we are seeing in for we'll see in tomorrow. But today's important concept is why we need a thread and what was the problem before thread and how we are creating a thread. Thread here means the smallest program which work individually, right? And the problem is that if you execute the code line by line, some code may wait for the longer time, though it is executing in a shorter periods. So this is a problem, and this problem will be solved by a thread because thread execute all the programs at the same times. But to implement a thread or to having a thread, there are two options by extending a thread or implementing runnables. The first option we have seen by extending a thread. One class can have only one thread because it's a run method is compulsory while creating a thread. And of course, the same name with the same parameter function. We can use only one classes. So I can't create a two run method in the same class. So that is not possible. So that's why we're creating a one thread in one class and rest of the same concepts. And here the important observation is instead of calling the object dot function names, we are just creating that all are the object and we are starting. Now it is only a three threads. If we have 100 of threads, then until you can start all the 100 of threads simultaneously. So these are the same concepts you can observe here. All are the different threads and which is working individually. It is not affecting any others. Okay. So this is the concept of thread. We are just started. Then there are multiple things are in a threads that we'll see in detail today, tomorrow. But today's concept you understood why we need a thread and what was the problem before thread and how we are solving a threads. Perfect.